Hey everyone, I'm Brian. You're watching the Build a Place channel. In this video, we're going to be making a bender, heavy duty bender to bend this steel. This is a piece of 3 inches wide by 1/2 inches thick. And this is a seat off an old antique crane that I'm working on. And I'll be remaking this part in the near future, hopefully. This part comes down and you can see it's all rusted down here. So I'm going to need to make a bender that can bend that radius in 2 places. So I can replace, I'm going to come right about here and go all the way over to somewhere right around there. So that piece is going to get remade into a new piece using the same stock. So we're going to get started making a bender. To do that, I'm going to have it so that it'll work with my shop press. So I'm just going to cut all the pieces up first to length because that's all boring stuff. I know you probably don't want to listen to me talking either, but that's boring. So I'll have that all cut first. And then once I get that cut, then we'll start modifying that rough cut pieces to the lengths, doing the drilling, and I'll show you the details that I'm going to use to make a kind of unique shop press bender. I haven't seen one quite like it. These similar things, but nothing quite like this anywhere. So let's go to work. Let's get this thing done. I have almost all the parts cut to length. These are 2 side pieces for the lower die and then the round stock that's going to go in the lower die. I have the disc that this is going to have 1/2 inch 13 threads in it, and that's going to go in the end here, pressed in there and welded. So I need to make 3 more of these. The upper die, this is the main die piece. I'm going to have to cut the angle on the gussets. And this is the piece of dime. I'm going to need to still cut this to length, but I'm going to cut the saddle cuts first on this. And I have my bolts, picked them up at Ace this morning. So I have 13 by 1 inch long bolts I'm going to use, and that's going to be for this piece here when I hold these lower dies. So I'm going to start marking, or I'm going to put layout die on all these pieces I'm going to be doing additional drilling and machining on. So let me go get that die on there, and then we'll start laying this everything out. And now I have to go over to the milling machines where I want to make these. That works out really good for using a 2 inch or 2 1/8 inch hole saw, and that creates a 2 inch disc diameter. So for the additional pieces that will be needing some extra machining, I'm just going to put some blue layout die on those. I want to mark the gusset for the top. It's just coming over 1/4 inch that way and coming up 1/4 inch. And then we'll just draw a diagonal line between those 2 spots, and then we'll just cut this off with a cutoff wheel and a grinder. For the lower die, can't remember what I called this thing, support or whatever, bracket, I need to come up from the bottom 1 inch and 3/16 of an inch, 1.188. So it's 1 inch and 3/16. So I'm just going to scribe a line across here. Probably just scribe a little line here, and then I'll probably try to do the same I did earlier, but with a rule. Get a good sharp line across there. And then it's come in 1 inch from both sides. It's coming from this way 1 inch. Okay, we're going to come in this way 1 inch. And then they're 1 inch apart, the holes are, so we come in 2 inches. Come that way 2 inches. And then 3 inches. There's going to be 6 holes in each one of these brackets. It didn't all go smooth. Just going to center punch this. Now for these holes are going to be a clearance hole for a half-inch bolt. So I want them to be fairly tight. So I'm probably going to drill them at 1/2 inch because with the threads, that bolt's going to measure a little bit less than a 1/2 inch. So for this cut, we're going to be making a saddle cut for the top die. This is a piece that's going to go into the shop press to adapt it to the round die. So we're going to make this. I have a piece of wood that has a 33-degree angle cut on it that I'm blocking it in, and I marked the center of the pipes. So the center of the pipe is going to be here. We're going to cut that 33-degree angle off this side, and then we'll go jump on the other side. So let's do this first. Now we're going to take this piece of tubing and we're just going to turn it over. You see, rotate it around. And then we're going to use this point right here as alignment for the next cut. So I have to bring this out. This is going to form our saddle. So right there appears to be where we need to have make the cut. So I gotta tighten this up a little bit and see, make sure it doesn't move when we tighten it up. It moved just a slight amount, so I just gotta move it just a little bit back this way, just a little bit. And we'll tighten it down, but we want this blade to cut right to that edge of that point that we just made. Tighten this up pretty good so it don't move on us. Looks good. Now if our marks are all good, we should have a perfect saddle cut that all we have to do is we'll have to do some grinding in here to get the lay in there right. But that's our beginning of our saddle cut. Finished cutting this all out, and I got my piece of die in there, and I couldn't find anything 3/32 inch shim, so I ended up using just some 3/36 inch diameter nails. Got it all squared up and lined up, so I'm just gonna get this thing welded up. And once I get this, then I'm gonna have to, well, eventually I'm gonna cut this off. I don't know when I'm gonna actually cut it off the regular piece of tubing, but let's just get this welded first. Okay, I got the piece tack welded. Now I'm going to tack weld the two gussets, and then after I get that tack welded, then I'll get it ready for welding. Yeah, we're pretty close to 3 inches, so we'll make that cut. Just do a fit test, see how well this upper die sits in here. Sits in pretty good. A little bit of friction somewhere, but overall it's in there. I'm going to drill a hole for a 1/4-20 bolt. Just going to put one in there because it just needs to hold it from falling down. Okay, this is the tap drill for the 1/4-20 thread. That was just a pilot we put in. This would be the actual one we use.
Take this over to the vise, and we'll tap that 1/4 right into there. And this completes it. Just have to clean everything up, degrease it, and we'll put a coat of paint on it.
Okay, the first thing you need to do is move this from the previous hole that I just drilled to a new location. So I'll try to get it so that just randomly picking a spot. I want to make sure that I'm past the original part that I just cut out. So right there is a good spot. Keep it from moving anywhere. Put a little bit of oil on the hand drill. Before this thing starts making a lot of noise, I'm running this at the slowest RPM this mill will go. It's like 140 RPMs. So I'd like to run real slow. It'll start making noise now. Pretty warm. Okay, we're all through. Allen wrench here. Oh, maybe so. Yep, it's out. I don't know if I could get it out of that spot, which I don't think I can with the... No, it's going to fall down in there. So I got to move my operation to the next hole, and then I'll be able to get that disc out of there. These discs are going to get a 1/2 inch 13 thread into them. So I need to do my a tap drill hole. So I'm just going to line these up and drill a 27/64 inch drill. So that's the size hole we're going to put in this disc for. That'll give me the right diameter for tapping that threaded hole. So I'm going to use 2 hold down clamps on this. That'll make it nice and steady. 1 probably would work, but 2 works better. I'm going to do the same thing to the next 3. Plenty of tapping fluid. I must need a longer handle. It's kind of the maximum capacity for this. Should have got a longer wrench, tap handle, whatever you want to call it. Made it a little easier.
I was doing some thinking on this lower die and started thinking about the thickness of this wall of this tube and the fact that I wanted to bend 1/2 inch flat stock. So what I did is originally I was just going to put these caps with 1/2 inch thread on the end, but what I decided to do was to make some additional disc and, for lack of a better word, a bushing, and I'm going to press these in. So there'll be 5 of these discs total, counting the 2 on the end, along with, it's 4 of these bushings equally, basically somewhat equally spaced apart. So we'll go over to the press and we'll start pushing these in. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. I could probably just use a hammer or whatever, but I decided to use the press to make it a little bit smoother job. Okay, this is the first lower die. We put that, we put a disc, bushing, a disc, bushing, and hopefully get another disc. Here we get another disc above. Let's try to square this up a little bit so it goes in straight from the start. It'll straighten itself out, but I'd rather have it kind of straight going in from the beginning. So let me start it down just a little bit, hopefully. For sure it'll straighten itself out. Yeah, it's trying to straighten itself out now. Okay, let me go back, take it off a little bit because it's going crooked. Okay, now that it's kind of straight, I may have to readjust again, but see how that goes. We'll start. Yeah, it's starting in good. Okay, I'm going to come back up. That should be more than enough. Okay, now what I need is a spacer and a threaded disc with the 1/2 inch thread on it. So we'll push that in there. And then we're going to let that stick up 1/8 of an inch. So we'll push in all but 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll tack weld that in. Make a lot of noise, but it's not that hard pushing. And line up this disc just a little bit better. So that'll go in 3/8 of an inch. So we need an 1/8 inch standing out. Let's make a lot of noise. Okay, I need my gauge. Here's my gauge. I'm going to use an 1/8 inch piece of aluminum. I'm just going to get this close to the center so I know I'm pushing in even. As close as I can get to the center. That looks pretty close to the center. So I don't want this to be crooked. Splatter down in my threaded hole. It's not what I wanted. That works so much better. Hold it. I got it in my hands.
To do the basically final assembly for this, we have the upper die, and it's just a 1/4 inch bolt goes in there to hold the upper die up. So we just thread it in little ways. And then for the lower die, we have these 4 1/2 inch bolts, and we're going to select the middle hole for each side to start with. And thread those into the middle hole. And we'll start the other ones also. Use the same middle of the two pairs of holes. 2 sets of holes, I guess you call it. And then just tighten down all the bolts. Got a wrench here, 3/4 inch wrench. Just tighten these down. Start by putting the upper die in and locking it down so it doesn't fall out. And then for now, we'll just set this lower die where it's going to somewhat be. I think that's pretty close to where it needs to be. I need to square it up. I need to square everything up. For this test, I'm not really worried about setting everything up exact. I just want to see if this will bend, how well it'll bend. Before I use this, I want to make sure everyone understands that this is a 20-ton press. So he can put 40,000 pounds of pressure downward. This die is not something that is sold by, I bought this from Harbor Freight, so it's not something that's an attachment that they have designed. And I'm not a mechanical engineer and have a degree in all this stress analysis. 20 tons, that's like the weight of a loaded single axle dump truck that's pushing down on this. So that energy, if something happens, that energy is going to go somewhere. So when you build something like this, realize that there is a risk associated with using this. So use common sense on certain things. Like on this is going to work fairly well. I think I have a piece of, well, it's a piece of 3/8 inch steel. It's probably about 2 inches wide. I'm going to do my first test with it. Be cautious, be leery. I don't know what else to say, but make sure that to try to stay away from harm's way when you're using a device like this, any kind of item that's not something that was designed by the manufacturer. Always be careful. So with that said, I'm going to go and try to bend this piece of steel with my new bender. I put a mark on this at 4 inches just for references purposes, because I'm going to see how this thing bends. So up and line this up best we can. This up just a little bit. It's a little bit on the tight side. We're going to line that up right on top of there, on that 4 inch line. Square it the best we can for this example, and we'll center it. We'll center this piece of metal in the center of this rod coming down from the shop press. Trying to get a 90 on this, but I should have put the gauge on there. But I'll do that when I do my other pieces. This is going to be a guessing game because I didn't put my angle gauge on there to be able to find out if it's a 90, but let's just go with this for now. I think it's fairly close to a 90. Now a little bit shy of a 90, but did a nice job bending that. Try to show that this is an old rusty piece of metal, but did an excellent job bending that. I could put it back in, try to get it in the same spot. I don't want it to move on me because I was going to take some measurements of it. Bring it back down and center it up. Nice thing about this with these lower dies, I can make a bend over 90. Not just 90, but I can bend over 90. As you'll probably see that I'm doing now, it's probably going to go over 90. No, it didn't go over 90. It's real close to being 90. It's still a nice bend. So, don't look bad. There's one feature that I haven't explained yet on this, but if you see, I have 3 sets of holes in pairs. So as the metal gets thicker, if you move this roller to the outside here and that one to the outside, it'll take less pressure or less tonnage to make a bend. So if I was going to bend something a 1/2 inch thick, most likely I'd put it to these outside holes on both of these. If I was to bend something thinner, like maybe 1/4 inch or even 1/8 inch, I would put it to the inside holes to make the bend, because it doesn't require that much pressure then. And as you go out further, you'll notice that your bend length, you won't be able to make a bend as tight. So as you get closer, you could make maybe a 2-inch bend there, whereas we made a 4-inch bend without this distance, and it worked fairly well. So if I was all the way out to these, I wouldn't be able to make that 4-inch bend. It'd probably be closer to 6 inches. So that's one feature that this has, and you could modify this to do whatever, but I like the thought of having that flexibility on the lower die, and then the upper die, you could make it any radius or any diameter piece you wanted. You can make it larger or maybe even smaller in diameter to make a tighter radius. But I'm not interested in the radius. That I need is what this die is for the upper die. So it's going to work perfect for that seat that I'm going to be making a new piece for. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you like these type of videos that I've been publishing, subscribe to my channel. Leave comments. I'm going to be working on the seat here sometime in the future. I haven't even bought the metal for it yet, so I'm kind of far behind on that, but at least I have this done, and I don't know when I'm going to start on that seat, but you'll be watching that on this channel or my other channel, Earth Movers of the Past. So that's where I'm working on the crane on the other channel, so you can watch it there. I haven't got very far on that. The only thing I did is get started. So I'm trying to get too many things done, I think. So till the next video, thanks for watching.